So, here I am with Christina Cross, and thank you for talking to me this morning. Christina, you've been involved in, I guess, what I would call the healing arts for quite some time, haven't you?
Yes, since I was about 19.
19?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first...
I first became interested in working with, as I would say, people's spirits through their bodies. Just, very early I was aware of the connection between the mind and body. And I first started out with massage, body work.
Yeah.
Then I became an acupuncturist.
What kind of body work was that? Just
shiatsu.
Oh, right. So Japanese.
Somewhat, and California style massage.
Okay.
And then went on to shiatsu.
Okay.
And then progressed on to Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine with herbs and acupuncture.
Which, in case anybody watching this wants to know, that's what's holding these boxes behind us. So all different Chinese herbs in here.
Well, in truth, it used to be filled with Chinese herbs.
So you've moved on from that, from bodywork, shiatsu, Chinese herbs to, what was the next one?
And then I, just for my own personal exploration, I began studying, taking an intuitive studies class, a meditation class that studied the entire physio-psychic system.
Right.
And then out of that, after I got married and had 2 children, and I stopped formally practicing acupuncture.
Okay.
I began...
Right, you were an acupuncturist too, I don't think we mentioned that.
Yes.
That goes with the Chinese herbs and acupuncture all in one.
All in one.
So you're like state certified acupuncturist, right? Wow.
Yeah, licensed acupuncturist.
Wow, okay.
And then when my children were young, I began doing intuitive readings.
Okay.
That just came naturally out of the training that I had taken.
Now, for somebody who doesn't know what an intuitive reading is, can you just very briefly describe what that is?
It's, well, as I do it, I'm in meditation, and I ask the other person's being what's most important and beneficial. And then the person might have a question, and then basically it's what people have called a psychic reading or clairvoyant reading, where I'm listening or getting a sense of information from the other person's being, sometimes from, we could say, a place of higher truth, and then I just reflect that information back to the person. And I work with anyone from infancy to, I've had clients of mine are babies, and particularly toddlers and children, sometimes teenagers, right on up through, I think the oldest person I've done a reading for was probably about 80 years old, maybe 85. Okay. So, yes.
Broad spectrum.
Broad spectrum.
Okay, so through all these various healing modalities, if I can call them that, where does voice dialogue fit in? How does that add on to all these other wonderful things you do?
Well, early on, just a few years after I began studying the intuitive studies, you in fact introduced me to voice dialogue, and also my husband, John. And I had, for my own personal growth over the years, I'd done many different things, but the voice dialogue was quite different. And
in what way?
The difference was that having done therapy and other kind of consciousness modalities, I understood myself very well. But I didn't see the patterns in my life changing so much. And then with the intuitive work, I began seeing those patterns released from the energetic body. I began to see a change in my life. Then along came voice dialogue, and suddenly I saw that these patterns had distinct selves or energy systems that went with them. And I began to correlate that with the chakras and the aura, and something very different would happen in that experience of being facilitated, where, as we know, like starting in the middle and moving to a self,
right.
experiencing that unique and distinct energy system,
right,
with an opinion and body posture.
Just to clarify here, so you're saying that when you meet a different self, let's say you meet a pusher self, the part that drives people, for example, or a pleaser, the one that wants to make everyone happy. What you're saying is that when that happens, you can, through your intuitive work, see it as a kind of autonomous.
Well, it was self. More. I guess I was more describing my experience of voice dialogue, so I experienced like a self, like this complete personality.
Okay, right.
Different personalities coming out that I recognize as part of me.
Oh, okay.
And then in coming back to the center, the experience of that separation, which in voice dialogue is called the aware ego process.
Right.
Something in that experience and that process was different than anything I'd seen in doing the intuitive work or the meditation.
Okay.
It was as if the experience of that self, that energy system, somehow gave me a separation from it, a release of a kind. And then back to your question, then in doing intuitive readings, what I began seeing was that that I might be looking at an energetic pattern, say in the solar plexus, the third chakra energy center. Yeah. And I noticed there was a distinct self that was connected to the pattern I might be looking at with that person, or the issue. Okay. And so then the two began to, I just saw the selves within the readings at times, not always. And then I began to introduce that to my students, and I've just felt that voice dialogue is it's so empowering for people.
Tell me more about that, empowering. Why?
Because and I've moved more towards teaching voice dialogue and doing voice dialogue sessions with people, because when a person is in a voice dialogue session, the facilitator is just really being present and helping to guide and be a witness, but they're not giving information, feeding information into the system.
Right. Well, not giving advice or that kind of stuff. Right. Okay.
Whereas in intuitive reading, I like to think I'm not giving advice, but there's still that separation for the person, that I somehow, as an intuitive reader, know something that they don't know. Okay. Even though I'm aware I'm getting that information from their being. Okay. Whereas in voice dialogue, a person can all their knowing is really there in their system of selves. Like I could ask to speak to a part of them that knows the answer to their question.
Right. So whereas in intuitive work they might come to you seeking answers that you're going to give them, in voice dialogue facilitation you're saying that really you just help them find their own answers.
Yes, and I will say, I like to say that in the work I do in intuitive readings, I ask the question, what is blocking the person from knowing their own truth or knowing the answer? Okay. But it's still like I have something they don't have. Yeah, that's the difference. Okay. Whereas in a facilitation, information comes from the selves that it's just remarkable. Different knowing and truth and information just emerges from the different selves, and some selves are energetic and some are more doing or mental, and so I feel that really that whole universe of information and experience is right there for the person, and that's incredibly empowering. Right. So
wow, what a journey. I mean, you've been on since 19 and you've gone through these various different stages, and now you've got them all available to you, voice dialogue's another fabulous tool in your toolbox.
That's right.
Great. Christina, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Okay.